Okay, so for those of you who've explored the supernatural landscape a bit, you know how certain places just seem to hum with forgotten stories?
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, definitely one of those places. Stunning beauty, yes, but also this surprising kind of eerie underbelly.
It really does.
And today, that's what we're doing. A deep dive into the fascinating, sometimes pretty unsettling world of Arizona's most haunted locations.
It's actually quite striking how many historic buildings in Arizona seem to have a story, you know? And often that story involves a ghost or two, especially in a state with such a rich, and let's be honest, often violent past. We'll be looking at everything, really. Grand old hotels, historic theaters.
Sure, the class.
But also grim prisons, abandoned mines, and even some unique spots you might not expect, like airplane boneyards.
Airplane boneyards. Okay, interesting.
Hi.
Now we're talking about all kinds of phenomena here, right? Not just seeing things.
Yeah. Exactly. Full apparitions, sure, those clear sightings, but also the more subtle stuff. You know, disembodied voices, sudden cold spots, objects moving on their own, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. And our mission for you today is basically to pull out the most chilling, the most surprising nuggets from all the sources we looked at, articles, research, local legends.
Yep.
We want to give you that shortcut,
Right.
get you well informed on Arizona's supernatural side, maybe figure out why these echoes stick around certain places.
Sounds good.
So let's start where a lot of good ghost stories seem to take root.
Mm-hmm.
Old hotels. It feels like so many of Arizona's most haunted spots are these grand, storied hotels, just packed with tales of spectral residents who never checked out.
Yeah, you know, it's actually quite common for hotels. Maybe it's just the sheer volume of human experience crammed into those walls. You know, all the joys, sorrows, intense emotions.
Like energy.
Exactly. All those transient energies just soaking in, leaving some kind of imprint.
Makes sense. A perfect example seems to be the Hotel Monte Vista up in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
It's got this famous guest list, right? Michael J. Fox, Susie Sue, even Bob Hope stayed there.
Legends, yeah. But it's the other residents, the more permanent ones, that really grab your attention.
Okay, tell me about them.
Well, they're quite a colorful bunch. There's this figure they call the Meat Man. Apparently he was a long-term guest who used to hang raw meat from the chandeliers in his room.
Okay, that's bizarre.
Isn't it? Then there's the story of a bank robber who supposedly bled to death in the cocktail lounge downstairs back in 1970.
Oof.
You've also got the phantom bellboy people report hearing an infant crying in the basement, and the spirit of an elderly woman often seen in a rocking chair up on the third floor.
The whole crew.
Pretty much. Oh, and supposedly 2 sex workers were killed on that same third floor, and they're rumored to specifically haunt male guests.
Wow. And I heard John Wayne might have been one of the first to notice something was off.
Yeah.
And bellboys knocking on doors?
That's the legend, yeah. John Wayne apparently had an encounter, and people do report phantom knocks.
Okay, moving south then to Bisbee. The Copper Queen Hotel. Another historic spot.
Yeah.
Another set of lingering residents.
Definitely. Its most famous ghost is probably Julia Lowell. The story goes she was a sex worker there, fell in love with a client, it didn't work out, and she tragically took her own life in her room.
Oh, sad.
Very. And they say she still tries to, well, seduce men who stay on the second and third floors.
Really? Okay. Is she the only one?
Not at all. There's also a more playful spirit, apparently. A little boy named Billy who drowned in the San Pedro River nearby. Now he supposedly runs around playing tricks on guests.
Like harmless pranks.
Seems like it. And reports also mention an older gentleman, sometimes seen on the 4th floor. Top hat, cape, smells like cigar smoke. Sometimes just appears as a shadow.
Quite the collection there, too. All right, what about the Jerome Grand Hotel? Jerome's that old mining town, right? Perched on the hill.
That's the one. Sleepy now, but it has history. And the hotel, this imposing building, it wasn't always a hotel. It opened in 1927 as the United Verde Hospital.
A hospital? Ah.
Yeah, primarily for the local miners after, pretty gruesome injuries. The numbers are staggering. Nearly 9,000 people reportedly died on the grounds.
9,000. Okay, yeah, that changes things. No wonder it's haunted.
Exactly. It's not surprising that many believe you've got lingering spirits of nurses and doctors still sort of doing their jobs.
Still on duty.
Right. Guests report hearing things like wheezing, labored breathing, supposedly echoes of old tuberculosis patients.
Chilling.
And there's a very specific ghost, too, Claude Harvey. He was a maintenance man found crushed by an elevator. Bit mysterious. They say he still keeps an eye on the boiler room at night.
Watching over his domain. Okay, also in Bisbee, there's the Oliver House. Sounds different. A bed and breakfast.
Yeah, it's this distinctive two-story B&B, but it has a really bloody history. Reports say something like 26 deaths have occurred there since it opened in the early 1900s.
26. In a B&B.
Well, the most infamous story is particularly grim. Happened around 1920. A police officer apparently caught his wife cheating, killed her and her lover, and then just went on a rampage through the building, slaughtering more than a dozen other people.
My God. That's horrifying.
It really is. So guests report all sorts of things now. Doors and shutters closing by themselves, ghostly footsteps, even the sound of gunshots echoing.
I can imagine. Are there specific rooms?
Yeah, they mentioned the grandma room, the officer's room, and room 13 that's supposedly where a man named Nat was shot.
Okay, let's shift back to Phoenix.
Yeah.
The Hotel San Carlos. Another one with a sad story.
A very tragic one, yeah. In May 1928, a young woman, an ingenue named Leonie Jensen, threw herself from the roof. 7 stories.
Awful.
And that event basically launched this enduring legend of a ghostly woman in white who people still report seeing just roaming the hallways.
The classic woman in white trope born from real tragedy.
Exactly. And one more hotel over in Scottsdale, the Hermosa Inn. This one sounds a bit different.
It does. The story here revolves around the original owner, Alonzo Lonmegagi. Apparently he just loved the place so much he never wanted to leave.
And maybe he didn't. Staff and guests report seeing what they describe as a lanky cowboy, or sometimes just a shadow figure wearing a cowboy hat.
And he gets up to mischief.
Seems like it. He gets blamed for breaking glasses and bottles overnight, and even flushing toilets when nobody's in the bathroom. Like, he's still enjoying the place.
Huh. Still making himself at home. Okay, so from these hotels, some tragic, some maybe a bit more playful, our journey takes a bit of a darker turn now. We're heading into places marked by really intense suffering, violence, places where the past just refuses to stay buried.
Yeah, this is where you really feel that connection between intense human pain and lingering phenomena. It's almost like the sheer weight of suffering leaves this indelible mark, echoes that last for decades, even centuries. These aren't just like residual energy recordings. They feel more like poignant reminders of lives cut short or lived in agony.
A good example has to be the Arizona State Prison Complex in Florence. That place has a long, grim history. Executions going back to 1910.
That's right. Roughly 100 inmates executed over the years, hanging, lethal injection, the gas chamber. A lot of death within those walls.
And it's not just the executions, right? People report things.
Oh, yeah. Reports of mists that looked in human form, especially near the death chamber building, screams, other strange sounds. And it wasn't just state-sanctioned deaths. Back in 1973, 2 officers were stabbed to death during a riot in one of the cell blocks.
Just soaked in darkness. And it shut down recently, didn't it? In 2022.
Reportedly, yeah. Which, makes you wonder what kind of energy might still be rattling around in those empty halls now.
Definitely. And speaking of prisons, there's the Yuma Territorial Prison. Even older, right?
Much older. Operated from 1875 to 1909. Brutal conditions. Over 3,000 prisoners passed through.
And a lot of deaths.
Documented. 1 in 11 from the heat, scorpions, violence, tuberculosis, you name it. They even had something called the dark room.
What was that?
Basically solitary confinement, but worse. Prisoners chained up in total darkness for misbehavior.
Jeez. Can you still visit?
You can. It's a state historic park now. And visitors and staff report hearing chains rattling, sometimes the sound of snakes hissing.
Creepy.
And there's another sad story, a little girl ghost. Apparently, families moved into the abandoned prison during the Great Depression, and one little girl died there. She's known for playing pranks now.
Pranks. Like the hotel boy.
Sort of, but maybe a bit more unsettling. People report feeling poked or pinched by what feel like icy cold fingers.
Ugh. Okay, shifting gears from prisons to mines. The Vulture Gold Mine near Wickenburg. That one sounds intense too. Didn't a TV show visit?
It did. Ghost Adventures was there back in 2008, and according to their reports, it was pretty active. They claimed rocks were thrown at them.
Seriously?
Yeah, and they recorded EVP's electronic voice phenomena saying things like, "Get out," and even, "You're gonna die."
Okay, that's definitely intense. What's the history there?
Well, it dates back to the 1880s. Produced a ton of gold, over 340,000 ounces. With that kind of wealth comes trouble, right? Theft, violence.
Makes sense.
They had the infamous hanging tree where they executed thieves. And guess what? Those spirits are now said to haunt tourists who get too close.
Figures. Any other specific ghosts?
There's the story of Jimmy Davis, a miner who died in some kind of freak accident. People report hearing his cries at night. And even the old mess hall is supposedly haunted. Phantom smells of food cooking, pots and pans clanging around.
The whole place sounds active. Okay, how about the Palace Restaurant and Saloon in Prescott? Prescott was the capital once.
I was, yeah. A lot of history there. And the Palace Saloon reflects that multiple fires over the years, definitely some murders.
And ghosts.
Oh, yes. One of the best known is a male spirit called Nevins. The story goes he owned a mortuary business, but lost it in a high-stakes poker game right there in the saloon. To the sheriff, no less.
Ouch, tough beat.
Right. And they say now, whenever men play cards there, Nevins shows up. Still trying to win back his property, apparently. Talk about holding a grudge or maybe just a really strong attachment.
Wow. Okay, and then there's the big one, the legend. The Lost Dutchman's Mine. Not a specific building, but a whole area.
Exactly. Deep in the Superstition Mountains near Apache Junction, Lost Dutchman State Park is named after it. It's pure legend, this fabulously rich gold mine.
And it's supposed to be guarded.
Fiercely. Guarded by spirits, the legend says. And tragically, dozens of people have actually lost their lives over the years searching for it. It's dangerous terrain, but the lure of gold.
And paranormal stuff, too.
Well, nearby residents report seeing strange shadows, unexplained lights up in the mountains, lots of hearsay, local stories. It fuels the whole mystery.
Keeps the legend alive. One more really dark one. Crook Tunnel down near Benson. What happened there?
It's got a grim history. There was a big rock slide in 1905 that blocked the tracks, which is bad enough. But the main haunting story centers on a confirmed death in 1912, a man named Henry A. Marks. His body was found in the tunnel, badly battered, run over by a train, arms and legs broken, one limb nearly torn off.
Horrible. Was it an accident?
Officially, yes. But the theory, the suspicion, has always been that it wasn't. That maybe it was murder passed off as an accident.
Oh, so his spirit is angry.
That's the belief. His angry spirit haunts the tunnel. People report sudden, distinct cold spots, hearing disembodied voices, even seeing full apparitions, maybe still seeking justice, you know?
Yeah, you can understand why. Okay, but Arizona's spectral stories aren't just confined to the usual suspects like hotels and prisons, right? Let's talk about some of the more surprising, kind of unusual haunts, places where the legends don't quite fit the mold.
Absolutely. Like, take Northern Arizona University's Morton Hall. It's a women's dormitory, nearly a century old, and it's supposedly haunted by a Kathy.
Kathy. Who was she?
A student, back in the early 1950s. The story goes she was heartbroken. Some versions say her family abandoned her, others that her boyfriend died in combat and she hanged herself in a stairwell.
Oh, that's terribly sad. And she's still there.
Apparently quite actively. Her presence is blamed for all sorts of, poltergeist stuff. Flickering lights, radios and TVs going haywire, posters flying off walls.
Oh, yeah.
People even say blankets get pulled off their beds. Seems like her emotional turmoil is still manifesting.
Hey, down to Tombstone, then. The Birdcage Theater. That place sounds notorious.
Oh, it was more than just a theater. It was a saloon, a gambling den, a brothel, and the site of 16 documented deadly gunfights right there on the property.
16 gunfights. Jeez. And I heard a particularly nasty story about that place.
Probably the one about the sex worker who was murdered by another woman, using her high heels supposedly to carve out her heart.
That's graphic.
Extremely. But despite that dark past, or maybe because of it, the reports are lively. Apparitions, voices, even ethereal music being heard. Almost like the ghosts are just as rowdy as the patrons were back in the day.
Still partying, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Phoenix again. The Orpheum Theater. That's a beautiful old place, right?
Gorgeous. A classic downtown Phoenix vaudeville house opened in 1928. Really ornate inside.
But it has a ghost.
It does. Her name's supposedly Maddie. She's an apparition often seen up on the balcony, and apparently she's famous for nudging or shushing patrons during performances if they get too loud.
Ah, a spectral usherette. So if you're there and someone tells you to pipe down...
It might not be a living person, exactly.
Okay, how about Casey Moore's Oyster House in Tempe? That sounds like a regular restaurant.
It's a very popular spot now, especially with ASU students. But the building itself goes back to 1910. It was originally a boarding house.
Okay. So it has history, deaths.
Yes. The first reported one was in 1929. One of the brothers living there had a hemorrhage, died right by the fireplace. His mother passed away in her bedroom about 10 years later.
Sad, but maybe not violent enough for a haunting.
Well, the most famous ghost story is about a young woman who lived upstairs back in the 1910s, tragically strangled by her boyfriend after he was jilted.
Oh, there it is, the tragic element.
Right, and people do report things, seeing shadowy figures moving around after closing time. Staff have had unsettling close encounters with, well, anonymous apparitions. Suggests maybe more than just that one story is lingering.
Okay, now for something really different. Those domes near Casa Grande. Thornton Road domes. What even are those?
They are bizarre, these weird UFO-shaped concrete structures. They were built by some tech company back in the day, but the company went bust, and the domes have just been sitting there vacant since the early 80s.
And they're haunted. Or just creepy.
Both, apparently. Incredibly eerie. And the phenomena reported there are unsettling. People talk about seeing shadowy figures scurrying around, car doors slamming shut on their own, rocks being kicked or thrown, and even hearing what sound like demonic screams.
Demonic screams?
Yikes! And electronics tend to fail near them. Car radios go funny. There are even these really weird reports of disembodied hands attacking cars.
Attacking cars? How?
Like slapping the windows or something. It's wild.
What's the story behind all that?
Well, what's fascinating is the sheer amount of urban legend that's built up. Some people claim satanic rituals happen there, and maybe there's a grain of truth, as human remains have been found nearby more than once.
Whoa.
Others believe the area is an ancient burial ground for the Anasazi tribe, and maybe it's cursed. It's got this whole strange, dark mythology around it now. The county actually ordered them to be demolished, which just adds another layer.
Wow, okay, that is unconventional. What else pushes the boundaries?
How about the world's largest military aircraft boneyard down on South Wilmot Road in Tucson?
An airplane graveyard. Seriously.
Thousands of decommissioned military planes, and of course a place like that has ghost stories. The main ones are about phantom World War II fighter pilots seen roaming the grounds.
Still on duty. Or attached to their planes.
Who knows? Maybe a bit of both. Reluctant to leave their old birds behind.
Okay, that's unique. And speaking of things brought from far away, Lake Havasu City. They have the actual old London Bridge, right?
They do. They bought it, dismantled it, shipped it over, and reassembled it piece by piece. An amazing feat of engineering.
And it brought something with it.
That's the belief, that when the bridge moved, it brought the ghosts of British people who had died by falling or jumping from it back in London.
Seriously. So British ghosts in Arizona.
That's the legend. People report seeing figures in Victorian clothing walking across the bridge at night. Some even claim they've been chased by a dark, shadowy figure. It suggests maybe the energy of a place can be relocated along with the structure.
That's a fascinating idea. Okay, couple more quick ones. The Rawson House in Phoenix.
One of the city's oldest homes, yeah. Built in 1995, beautiful Victorian style, now owned by the city.
And haunted by?
The ghost of a caretaker, apparently. He was tragically shot just outside their house back in the 1980s. People report seeing a shadowy figure walking up the front steps and just vanishing.
Huh. Anything else?
Yeah, inside, visitors report weird warm spots, hearing footsteps when no one's there, doors opening or closing on their own, sometimes even locking from the inside.
Classic haunted house stuff. What about Cherry Cemetery? Sounds remote.
It is. Cherry's an isolated former mining town. And the cemetery, well, the reports there are particularly unsettling.
How so?
People report hearing children crying at night, babies crying, seemingly coming from unmarked graves that are just labeled baby.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It really is. A stark reminder of how tough life was back then, especially for infants, and the sorrow that can just linger.
Yeah. Okay, last couple, some academic spots.
Yeah.
St. Augustine Cathedral in Tucson, beautiful church.
Gorgeous. But even it has a spooky side, as they say. The legend there is of a faceless nun who roams the courtyard.
A faceless nun. That's properly creepy.
Classic spectral figure, right? And finally, the University of Arizona itself. Also in Tucson, big research university.
But also haunted.
Apparently quite significantly. Reports link murders, suicides, old Western duels fought on the grounds, and other suspicious deaths to hauntings in at least 8 different buildings on campus.
8 buildings. Any standouts?
Old Main is probably the most famous. Story goes, a construction worker was stabbed there back in the 1880s during its construction. Seems even modern centers of learning can't escape the echoes of their own, sometimes violent pasts.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. From these tragic old hotels and really grim prisons and mines to some seriously weird spots like airplane boneyards and those desert domes. So what does this all mean?
That's the big question, isn't it? It really raises this important point for you listening at home. What actually defines a haunted place? Is it just the history, the tragic events that happen there?
Or maybe some kind of residual energy.
Exactly. Or is it something else entirely that makes these stories cling to certain locations and, persist across generations?
It is a lot to think about. Which of these stories really stuck with you? What might you want to, I don't know, look into more, maybe even visit carefully on your next Arizona road trip?
Indeed. And maybe think about this. Considering all these really varied accounts, all these different kinds of paranormal activity, what are the universal bits of human experience that these ghost stories seem to tap into, regardless of whether you literally believe in ghosts or not?
Right. What are they really telling us?
Yeah. What do these tales reveal about how we process memory, loss, maybe the need for justice, or even profound love like the guy who couldn't leave his inn? Or just that enduring power a place can hold once it's been touched by really intense human emotion? Lots to mull over.